Hey there, YouTube. Cheers. Sipping on some Diet Pepsi this evening. Thought I'd change it up instead of the usual tea or water. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm just getting in. I was going to, well, I went to an event this evening that ended up being canceled. And so while I was out, I decided to make a couple of stops. I went to a truck stop in the area. They get fresh donuts all day, and they have these little bow tie glazed donuts that I really do like. So I got a couple of those and just put them in this sealed baggie here because I'm not gonna eat them. Probably eat on them later on in the week. And then I stopped at my favorite local popcorn shop and got they call this the Chicago mix, even though we're in Northwest Indiana, but it's cheese and caramel popcorn mixed together. And so I thought I'd do a movie night tonight. I pulled out some DVDs to watch. I'm either gonna watch Johnny Dangerously or binge some Sanford and Son. This is their entire series, and or this is one of my favorite shows too, The Honeymooners. This is also their entire series as well. I have a friend that has a record store, used record store, but he also sells DVDs. He has a collection of like 15,000 or something DVDs extra, and so he sells them. And so I got all of these that just he just literally just blesses me and gives them to me for next to nothing. And so I do enjoy a good DVD, but I'm not here to talk about movies or anything like that. And I'm sorry, it's July 29th, a little bit after 8 o'clock. Sorry if you can hear the air conditioner in the other room. It's just hot here in Northwest Indiana. I just looked. It's 92 degrees, but it feels like it's 101 degrees outside. And it was just warm in here. I didn't have on the air while I was gone. And so I just had to turn it up. And I have a ceiling fan and a regular fan going just to circulate some air in here. But anyway, so I'm rambling. I really wanted to just talk about the Trump administration. I normally don't do these kinds of videos. I did one other political video, I don't know, earlier this year. But, and I normally avoid that because it's just, I don't want to argue with people. But I just felt compelled to do this. And so I don't know that I've ever shared it here, but I could probably do a series of these videos, and I don't know, maybe I will. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, so I don't know that I've ever shared this, but I work for a local nonprofit here in Northwest Indiana, and I wanted to just talk about the adverse impact that the policies of the Trump administration is having on nonprofits and affecting real people. I know a couple dozen people who, as a direct result of Trump policies, have lost their jobs in nonprofits because a lot of them have had to change direction because of this administration. And people talk negatively about nonprofits, and with anything, there are criminals or people not doing right in every social and economic sector of this world. Just corruption is everywhere. But I believe, and from what I've seen, and I've worked at a nonprofit for about 2 years now. I worked in corporate America for 23 years. And just got tired of it. I always wanted to work in a nonprofit, and when I got laid off 1 week before my 10th anniversary at the last place that I worked at, the pastor, and so I work at a nonprofit that is a part of a church where I'm a minister at, and the church has a nonprofit arm, and that's my full-time job. And so I worked corporate America for 23 years, and I worked for the U.S. government for 9 years at U.S. Customs, which today is Homeland Security and ICE, but it because I think it combines immigration and customs. Those were two separate agencies when I worked there, but I think they just combined them. And I worked there for 9 years. So that's, what you didn't really want to know is my work history, as if I'm applying for a job. But I said that to say this. A lot of people speak negatively about nonprofits, but there are good nonprofits out there. And so the nonprofit that I work for, there's a few different pillars of justice that we fight for, which is food injustice. We fight for health injustice, economic injustice, among other things, and environmental justice. And I work in environmental justice because I'm really passionate about that now. And so that's my full-time job. And as you probably have already figured out, Trump's environmental policies are, in my opinion, atrocious. You may disagree, but I think we're already seeing signs of global warming. Look at now. It's in the Midwest. It's been with the temperatures and with the heat index. It's been over 100 degrees pretty much for a couple of weeks now. And that's very unusual here. And actually in 2024, that was the warmest year on record. And so I encourage you all, just look up the statistics for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Never take my word. Never take anybody's word. Look it up at a reputable source. And so we're seeing the some of the byproduct of, I believe, of global warming. And one of those things is summers become warmer, the weather becomes more, you get more severe weather patterns, and the winters will get milder. And actually, in Gary, Indiana, where I live, we actually had 3 tornadoes in one day earlier this year. And in northwest Indiana, I don't remember how many, but I know there were tornadoes in other nearby cities. I was passing through Griffith, Indiana at the time, and they had some there because I saw them and I was driving in it, and it was very scary because it just came just like that. And so I say that to say that there are a lot of good, I believe, and I've seen good grassroots nonprofit organizations that are doing good things. And so we were a part of and so I don't want this to be super extra long, but what I will say is, and there's no script, I didn't write anything down, I'm just free willing here. But one of what I believe is quite possibly illegal, if not immoral, tactics of the Trump administration is to essentially just take funding away, grant funding that had already been legally awarded, applied for, awarded, contracts were signed, and it's supposed to be a done deal. And if you've ever been a part of any federal funding, you know that you have to jump through a lot of hoops to get any kind of federal funding, and you have to. It's a long process, and in Indiana here, so there was a Biden era, what they call Inflation Reduction Act. This was hundreds of billions of dollars that I think, and I was not a Biden fan at all. Not a Biden fan, not a Kamala Harris fan, not a Trump fan. I just think we just lost. But that Inflation Reduction Act did a lot of great things, in my opinion. And so in Indiana, we were part of a coalition that there were two grants: the Community Change Grant and Solar for All. It was a combined total of $14 billion in funding that was being awarded in every state. And so, Indiana, where I live, we were part of a coalition of a lot of different nonprofits and local city governments. Collectively, we got $117 million in Solar for All. That was awarded, I don't know, like April of 2024. And the process of dealing with federal funding is long, it's tedious, and you have to do a lot. And so we spent months planning because it's a 5 year grant. Everything has to be complete in 5 years. So we spent uh, the bulk of 2024. You have to submit what's called a work plan. So we got about 20% less than what we applied for. So everybody's work plan, which essentially is a high level narrative of how you intend to administer this grant, the programs, the purpose, the outcomes, the cost, all of those things, you summarize in a work plan. And so everybody had to redo their work plan based on the lower funding. And and there's different projects doing different things: rooftop solar, solar farms, microgrids, and I could talk about that for a long time. But and a part of that is also weatherization. If you're so that we can help homeowners weatherize their home, be it upgrade their fuse box, get new windows or doors, or a new roof, just to make their home more energy efficient, so that whatever is awarded to them will have optimal efficiency and yield better results. And so we spent months doing that, getting the work plans together, filling out all of the forms, getting all of the documents together, creating all of these different subcommittees for all these different things and tasks that are involved. Excuse me. And we were able to get the work plan submit. So you have to do these work plans, submit all this documentation. This was an EPA funded grant, submitted to your rep, your grant rep at the EPA as a whole, and hope that they approve it and say, yep, all of this. And this is hundreds, if not 1,000+ pages of documentation and charts and all kinds of stuff. And so we were able to get that done to where we got everything approved. They sent the contract, it was signed, and the funding was allocated for us the first week of January. We were trying to get in before Trump got in, and we thank God we did. And I don't want this to be too long, and I'm guessing there have to be multiple parts for this, but if you get a grant from the government, they're not just going to send you a check. So they're not just going to send us a check for one of those big giant checks for $117 million. No, they award the funding and it gets transferred out of their account to like a secondary type account in their system, just for your organization. And so there's one organization that's overseeing this entire grant and dishing out the funding. And so whenever you need to draw down on the funding, you submit a request. We have to submit a request to the organization, the nonprofit that's administering the grant. If they approve it, they submit it to the EPA, who will then, if they approve it, they will transfer the funding and everything gets distributed. So the government still controls the money, even though it no longer belongs to them. And so one of the first things that Trump did was to take all of these billions of dollars back. And so it took us a couple of months to fight. And we're part of, we're just a bunch of smaller nonprofits, and we don't have money for attorneys. There are some nonprofit attorney organizations that do provide legal help to other nonprofits. We work with one, and they do provide us with legal representation for certain things, but not these long court fights. And so the money got restored, but one of the things that that they've already announced that they're going to do, and I think this is one of the areas where they're going to get shady. So the Trump administration changed the rules. So they did give the money back, but they changed the rules after the fact to say that if we don't believe that whatever your project is, even though you have this grant that's already been legally given to you, that you applied for, that the Senate and Congress approved the funding, you applied, you went through all of the interview processes, and you got the funding, and a contract was signed and said, yep, here's your money. Even though that's been done, if we determine that your project does not fit our narrative of what we want to see done, we can take your money, we can take that money back. That's unprecedented. It had never been done before. And so that's one of the rule changes. And so what we face today is they've already announced in September they're going to review. The EPA is going to review. And if they deem that we have not made enough progress in our work plans, because we haven't even really started working. So they did two shady things. One, this was a 5-year grant that we had to administer. We just finished year 1 in April. They changed it from 5 years to 4 years. So we have a lot of work to do in a shorter period of time. But what they said is now, if they don't feel as though we've made enough progress, when they review what we've done and what we submit to them, they can just cancel the grant and take all of the funding back. However, they have not explained exactly their definition of enough progress. So we don't know where the bar is that we're supposed to be able to meet. It's completely arbitrary. And so, and I'll make a part 2 about, I'm on the board of another nonprofit that will essentially end up going out of business in a little over a year, a program that's been operating for over 25 years, that Trump he's talking about how he wants more products made in the United States. And I don't think anyone that lives here will disagree that that should happen. I'm fine with that. I don't think he's going about it the right way with these tariffs, because it can take years to build the infrastructure to create a manufacturing facility in the U.S. A lot of machinery is customized, and it has to be custom engineered in the space, and that takes a long time. Not to mention the poor infrastructure. You need roads for trucks to be able to deliver and move products around. You need rail. You need a electrical infrastructure to support all of the power that's generated from this, which our infrastructure in this country, a lot of it is old and outdated. So a lot of work needs to go in. And so this organization that they work with, AmeriCorps and Youth Build, actually promotes young people aged 16 to 24, many in high school. It provides a way for them to learn about working in the trades, be it a carpenter, a plumber, an electrician, all of these different trade jobs that there are. And there's a lot of jobs in the trades. And so it provides training and certifications that young people can get to help get them prepared to perhaps join a union one day. So you can get some OSHA certifications, you can get your first aid certification, and some safety certifications, and some general certifications that are required to work in the trade. You can get that and earn that while you're in high school. And the caveat is these kids have to do so many hours of community service in their own community to give back, to earn the opportunity to have this education, and they can also earn up to $1,500 per year in scholarship funding to pay for college or trade school or tools, things like that, when they graduate. This program was completely decimated by Doge, and they've got funding for another year because the rest of it was taken away and nothing was renewed. And so once this funding over the next year is gone, this organization that I work with and hundreds of others will likely shut down. And these are programs that have been operating. The program that I work with has been operating since the late 90s. And they've helped 1,000 kids, over 1,000 kids, I believe it is, over those years, learn trade and learn information. And so they're going to be gone. And so I'll talk about that in the next video and some of the other impact that real people, I know of a lot of people that work in nonprofits that have already been laid off because of Trump's policies. And a lot, billions and billions of dollars have been taken back. We got our grant funding back for now. They can still take it, but a lot of other organizations have not had their funds restored, and it caused people to immediately lose their jobs because payroll was federally funded, operational fees were federally funded, and when you just take that away overnight with no warning, it can have catastrophic impacts. And so this Trump administration, and I don't want this to go this long, but I just had to get this out. This Trump administration, whether you are Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter. It has been so detrimental to the American people, to real nonprofits that are doing real good grassroots work in the community, in your community. Those two grants that were $14 billion of the Inflation Reduction Act, those are just two of hundreds of grants. Those were distributed across all 50 states. And ironically, the red states got the most funding that was going to do a lot of good environmental work, helping people who are low income, who may own a home, who are elderly, have your home weatherized so that you can save money on your utility bills. Rooftop solar projects that can be awarded and given to people, solar farms, microgrids for community solar projects that will help ultimately the community, because coal, all of the fossil fuel systems that we use are harmful to our health and our planet. But why not? And nothing's going to be 100% solar or wind power. We need probably, maybe even for now, some other forms of power. But why not use the power of the sun, of the wind, that's already a resource that doesn't take anything away, that's already here? Why not use that to help build up our infrastructure? Because our infrastructure is in trouble. And I could go on. And so I'm already over 24 minutes in. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts and opinions, especially if you work for a nonprofit or some kind of an organization that has been adversely affected by this. And I'll close with this. And so, again, a part of this Inflation Reduction Act was workforce development money for training for people to be able to work in the trades, and because there's, for solar installations, you need a carpenter, you need electricians, you need people that have a trade background to do this. There is money in that to help provide training. And so with this Solar for All grant, we have all these different subcommittees that are addressing all these, because it's a multifaceted grant, and it could take me a long time to go over everything. But I'm a part of um, the workforce committee. One of the things that we wanted to do and we had agreed to do is provide workforce training to people who are out of prison, who have paid their debt to society and don't necessarily have a violent past, but want to better themselves so that they don't have to resort to crime to support themselves. We were working with a solar panel manufacturer in Indiana that employs only ex-convicts. Their whole factory, and they've been going for a while, their whole factory from management on down all have criminal records, some felonies, and folks have turned their lives around. We wanted to be able to help people who are unhoused, women and minorities, people in underserved communities that just need an opportunity, because opportunities aren't exactly flowing everywhere. And so, as Trump wants to build up the infrastructure in this country, why not support funding and systems that helps that workforce? But he's doing the opposite. He's taking away funding that will help the poor, because he doesn't care about any of these things, in my opinion. He doesn't care about the poor and the middle class. And especially with this Epstein thing, that's a whole nother subject that we could talk about, because I'm quite sure he is a part of that report, and I'm quite sure he was on that island, and I'm quite sure he's done some, we've, just in the things that we've heard about him, he's a creep. He bragged about grabbing women. He bragged about how beautiful his daughter is. That's sick. Not to mention the Russian tapes. I'll stop there because I don't want my blood pressure to go up. Because another thing that we could be losing with the inflation, with these cutbacks, is healthcare. And so I work for a nonprofit. The grant that I have that funds my job, that runs out next year, when who knows what happens with me, did provide some money for healthcare. So I get my health insurance from the Obamacare, and I get a small discount, and my employer pays half, and I pay half, but I'm still paying like $400 a month for just healthcare for just me. But I get a discount with that from the Obamacare, and if those go away, and I'm hearing that they're supposed to, I can't afford to pay anymore. So I could lose my health care. So I'm trying not to get my my blood pressure up. So I hope that everyone is having a blessed and a wonderful day. I'm sorry that this went on for so long. I do feel compelled to do some more of these, and I hope that you'll come by and watch them and leave your opinion. Let's just be nice and polite in the comment section. You know, you have a right to feel the way you feel. There are Democrats, there are Republicans, there are independents. I count myself more as an independent. There are libertarians. There's all kind of folks out there. We have to live together. And I don't think any one side is particularly right about everything. I believe that it's just about being an adult and compromising and looking at not being loyal to a political party, but to the country that we live in. And I think that the irony is that a lot of these MAGA folks call themselves patriots, but Donald Trump is the biggest, in my opinion, is the biggest threat to democracy of our generation. in this country. And the folks that support him often, I mean, he convinced people to try to overthrow the government. And he lied and tried to convince people that an election was stolen when there was no evidence. In fact, the courts ruled against him. But they call themselves patriots. What a world we live in now. And so I just pray that everyone is doing well. I'm going to get off my soapbox now because I'm going to go watch one of these DVDs. I think I might do The Honeymooners. I don't know. I need to go back into a simpler time before I was born, when life was simpler. And laugh. Sometimes I think laughter is one of the best forms of medication that there is. And I take some pills for a myriad of different ailments, but I think laughter is probably the best medicine. And so if you haven't laughed today, just laugh. Make somebody laugh. Make somebody smile. Smile at somebody. Hug somebody. Somebody hasn't been hugged all day, all week. And just let's get along. Let's work together. Let's try to end racism, regardless of where you are on on the political spectrum. I feel like if you're a decent person, you should let's just try not to be racist. We all come from different backgrounds. We all come from different heritages. We all have our positives. We all have our negatives. We all contribute, I believe. So I'm going to stop there because it's over 30 minutes. And so if you made it this far, God bless you. Thank you so much. I'm not mad at you if you have to just do like half of it today, half of it tomorrow. But anyway, have a blessed day and cheers.